From the very moment you open Tunic, the game asks you, what's with the giant sword? Questions like these are the beating heart of what makes Tunic truly a special experience. Like a cryptic hydra, each answered question only births two fresh ones for you to uncover. Washed ashore and hopping enthusiastically onto their feet, the comparisons between this easygoing fox and Link from The Legend of Zelda are immediate. Such familiarity feels as if the player is being given a reassuring hug before departing on an adventure far from home, and it's more than welcome as you are given absolutely no instruction on how you wish to proceed. Throughout Tunic, it's up to you, the player, where you want to go, how you're going to do it, and just how far you'll ultimately go. Aside from its minimalist visuals, borrowing most predominantly from Monument Valley, the soundtrack immediately captures the player's imagination. With such a spacious, flowing melody, it's unmistakably the theme of this mysterious and unexplored world stretching out before you. Curious that many other games in the genre would begin with some bombastic opening theme timed to the main character before fleshing out the world they inhabit. Wait, what the heck are those symbols? And honestly, that's about as much as I can say about this game without starting to spoil it. So, there you go, spoiler warning already. Also, we just got our first achievement. So after you've unleashed your brand new stick on a few unsuspecting clay pots, you'll be exploring the local ruins, bashing some enemies, coming across a couple locked doors, all that good stuff. And then, things get absolutely nuts. What the fuck? Are we dead? Are we a ghost? Where is this? Where is this? What's happening? These sorts of phrases will be leaving your lips quite often, as this is just the tip of Tunic's iceberg. You've heard the princess being in another castle before, but this is something else entirely. So hopefully you can see now how this game manages to invoke a sense of intrigue and mystery within its opening moments so brilliantly well, where many other games will just kind of let you hop in and get to grips with everything before they really start to do anything narratively. And then you'll come across one of these. An instruction manual page. I loved how these gave the sense that a grandparent had tried to do something nice and bought me a video game when I was little, but had maybe gone to like a second-hand shop and got one cheaper, but not realised they'd accidentally bought a Japanese one, and it means that a lot of the manual is just completely unreadable in the best possible way. And then later on you can also find instruction manual pages with handwritten scrawlings on them, as if an older sibling's already had their hands on this game before you, and you know, they've worked out certain things and made a note of it for themselves, but you know, they've just passed it on down to you years later, and now you can just pilfer their knowledge to add to yours. It's a really smart little system. So that first instructional page is going to basically point you towards 2 bell towers that you need to go and ring, which isn't the last Dark Souls nod we're going to see in this game. Definitely some fans of the Souls series on the dev team here. We'll talk about the combat next, which is a fairly lightweight stamina-based variant. But don't let the gorgeous game's aesthetic disarm you. if you just throw yourself at every enemy, you'll likely succumb to damage, and an over-reliance on dodging causes you to run out of stamina, which briefly increases the amount of damage you take in this more vulnerable state. So there's actually a surprising amount of subtlety to what appears to be on the surface as something quite straightforward. The equipment you can use in combat has been scattered throughout the world quite scarcely too, so it will take a fair amount of effort before you'll actually be wielding the typical sword and shield, which goes a long way to keep combat fresh and interesting as you pick up new tools to help deal with certain foes. The enemies themselves have great diversity as well from start to finish, with different approaches and equipment favouring certain enemies, so all around a top job design-wise here. Now, I'm gonna have to be very selective with my words here, because some of the ways this game gently teases and tests you just can't be found elsewhere in gaming. It's absolutely unparalleled. Let's just say, to those of you that have played through The Witness, Tunic pulls a similarly impressive trick at least twice, if not more so, and I refuse to rob anybody of this experience because it was just so phenomenal to play through it for myself, and I'll likely remember it above all others for a very long time. So with that said, I'm giving Tunic a perfect 5 out of 5. I think anybody out there, regardless of their previous gaming experience, can get so much out of Tunic. Please, just play it. Just play it. Alright, so we've got to be pretty thorough with all the collectibles in Tunic here. First achievement I'm going to highlight that's difficult to get is the ones for all 12 secret treasures. I'm only going to highlight a secret legend, which is the rarest of the 12 to get on screen. Getting all the secret treasures does also require you to get all the fairies, because one of the secret treasures is for getting all the fairies, so you do need to run around and get all of those. I'd say finding all the fairies and secret treasures is actually really just a good experience. They're all tied in various ways to different puzzles, so that's all quite interesting. I would encourage you to just try and do as much of this as possible before referring to the guide that I will link in the description below. That's how you get all 12 of the secret treasures. Next up is Well Done, which is for making 15 wishes. Hopefully you know how to make a wish with a gold coin by now. So the main thing to understand with this is that whilst you can carry gold coins between New Game and New Game Plus, the wish counter resets in New Game Plus, so you need to use all 15 gold coins either in New Game or New Game Plus. So there are more than 15 gold coins in the world, so you don't have to use New Game Plus, but if you've not spent that many and it's easier to just jump into New Game Plus and find a few more, do it that way. Either way, this is not too bad. Bring It to the Wrong Fight is quite an interesting one. It asks you to start a new game and basically ignore picking up a sword. Instead, you want to head straight to the quarry and find the gun and pick it up, and that's how you unlock the achievement. The trick here is to find a way to get past the bushes without using a sword, so it's either find some explosives and do it yourself, or use the enemies to do it for you. You can make this a lot more easy by setting the accessibility settings to make you invulnerable, so it's not too bad getting this. I will leave a guide in the description below though, in case you need it. Oh my gosh, well look at that. We've got a perfectly achievable and varied set of achievements, so I don't see any reason why I can't give this game my first perfect rating, both on the actual gameplay side and on completion. This is incredible. I'm sure nothing's going to I wanted so bad to be able to say that Tunic is perfect, and it so nearly is, except for the last achievement. Too Cute to Smash is asking you not to use a consumable item, which sucks. You know, you play through the game normally, you find these money banks, you need the currency, you smash them, you get more currency. It feels like another nod to Dark Souls with burning whatever version of Souls it is at a safe spot so that you can spend them all at once. But no, you shouldn't be using them, apparently. You should just hold on to them and not do anything with them and don't even touch them, in a game which actively encourages you to try as many new things as possible, because the game doesn't tell you what anything does. It sucks. I really wish it wasn't there, but it is. So, how you go about doing this? If, like me, you broke too many in your first game, you will have to cobble together what few money banks are left in your first new game, and then head into New Game Plus, and hopefully there are enough relatively easy ones for you to find. I just about had enough that I could find so that I didn't have to go through that whole middle section of the game in ghost form to get the other ones, so it wasn't too bad for me, but I just didn't want to have to dick around, and it was making me dick around, and yeah. So unfortunately, this is the difference between a perfect score and a not so perfect score. 4.5 out of 5, but still, I'm not upset. I'm disappointed. The Case of the Golden Idol is set in a fictional rendition of the 18th century at the end of the early modern period, and is a point-and-click adventure game harkening back to titles such as the Monkey Island series, crossed with the detective gameplay of The Return of the Obra Dinn.
Boo!
Come on,
Here
really?
we go.
Again? Fucking Obra Dinn. When are you going to play a game that came out this year? Alright, Obra Dinn, it's a good game, alright? Fuck. Jesus. Each level sees the player presiding over a scene where at least one person has met their untimely end. And it's up to you to figure out the who, what, when, where, and why done-its as laid out in your scantily detailed notebook. By examining persons and objects of interest, you'll add keywords into your thinking tableau at the bottom of the screen, piecing together potential suspects' motives, means, and movements. While some murders are decidedly gruesome, others are more comically dark, which in a strange way is held together quite well by the borderline uncanny valley of exaggerated characters. Such outlandish expressions in the aftermath of a murder assist in distinguishing people from one another, which is handy in helping the player mentally juggle loose strands of information without worrying too much about who's who. This becomes increasingly important as you'll start to recognise some faces present at future crime scenes alongside the recurring presence of the Golden Idol itself. Subtly tipping off the player that there's more bubbling beneath the surface is one of the Case of the Golden Idol's best aspects, seamlessly encouraging them to start making wild speculations of their own as they graduate from bumbling Watson to an enlightened Holmes. Seeing the culmination of these theories as the ongoing story reaches its finale makes for a momentous conclusion as you pull information and inference from across the game's 12 cases. While the main game structure is brilliantly paced to slowly crank up the difficulty and give the player a chance to collect their thoughts between levels, the DLC struggles to keep a lid on things. Each DLC only has 3 cases, which means cramming in more narrative details across a shorter runtime. But simultaneously, with these levels being paid DLC, there's a fair expectation for these levels to one-up the main game. For me at least, this led to some information overload, while also having to make a couple leaps in logic to make sense of the murders. I think the DLC would have benefited from being a bit longer to afford itself a bit more breathing room and establish the main characters and setting before diving into more ambitious puzzles. I mean, the template is right there in the main game, executed flawlessly, goddammit! It says it all that I used the game's inbuilt hint system a grand total of 0 times for the main story, but used several hints in the DLC, which is a welcome feature to help players along, by the way. All in all, this feels like enough of a hindrance to the overall package that it holds the game back from a perfect score, but still a majorly impressive 4.5 out of 5 for the Latvian independent developer duo Ernest and Andres Klavinch. You can actually get a demo for the Case of the Golden Idol as well, so if I've not fully convinced you to pull the trigger on a purchase, you can give it a try on Steam, so I will link that in the description below. There is 0 chaff involved in completing the Case of the Golden Idol, merely requiring you to solve each of the levels in the game, which doesn't even include the entire logbook, it's just the main section of each one. The DLCs are included in this, which adds up to an extra 10 quid between the two of them, just in case your wallet is feeling a bit tight after Christmas. I'm a bit surprised there isn't an achievement for completely filling out the logbook, but other than that, I'm not sure what else could have been added as an extra challenge for the player. So, nothing to chalk up against the Case of the Golden Idol. So, yeah, perfect. 5 out of 5. Really hit the ground running here in January, so this is now 5 games I've completed this month. The reason why you're going to see it tick up 3 here is just because I went back and did the DLC for Dredge. I'm not sure why that didn't register previously or where that extra one's come from previously. The new number's 119 games completed, so yeah, there you go. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you very much again for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit the buttons as you so choose, and I'll see you in the next one.